So that's how it is. That's how easy it is. So Harbey, thank you very much for coming in and to record your experience as a JAMS fellow. I did. You wanted to know the background why this came up. So what happened was there was Migle, who's in Lithuania. She was on my show in conversation with a beautiful mind. So she mentioned that she's a JAMS fellow for this year. So I said, okay. I mean, I didn't even know about the fellowship. So then I saw a LinkedIn post, and the LinkedIn post was talking about how the applications are open for this year. So I said, let's, it sounds interesting. Let's look at the list of people. And there were so many people out there that I knew. So I said, why not record their experiences? Because I'm sure, because I spoke to a few, and they said memorable experience. It was like, I mean, something that I made friends for life and all those things. I said, so let's put it out. It'd be interesting. So this new series I started because of that. This Mediator Experiences, that people recording their memorable experiences, not in relation to a mediation. It could be. I mean, let's, as we go along, let's see. But in relation to the mediation world. So this series came up. So I said, let's do this now first with the JAMS fellows, then we'll look at the others. So that's the background, Javi. Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, thank you very much for coming in. And what you should do is maybe you could just introduce yourself and take us through your basic experience and everything. And at some point of time, you have to tell me about this narrative mediation. That part of it sounded very interesting on your profile. So at some stage, you have to take me through that also. Please.
Thank you. Well, I'm a narrative mediator and conciliator from Colombia. I started my mediation experience in 1998 when I was a student at the National University of Colombia. And since then, I started working and focusing on how mediation could help people resolving conflicts. Of course, that is the main objective. And in 2002, I became interested in narrative mediation as a school of a way of practice and theory and reflection about mediation. And since then, I studied at George Mason University, the master's program that they have there at the School of Conflict Analysis and Resolution. Now it's called the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. And currently, I'm working as a professor at the School of Law at the National University of Colombia with a new class that is called Mediation and Peace Building. So that is something that I can tell you about myself. I'm a person interested in the field, but also interested in how this knowledge and these experiences can help me with my own life also.
Great. So, but how did this JAMS thing come up? I mean, how did you get to know about it? And then how did you take the process through, and what were you planning to do in Colombia that you wanted to do more about all that? I mean, just a basic on that.
Right. Well, in 2017, I knew about the JAMS Foundation. Well, JAMS is very well known as a mediation center in the United States. So through social media, I knew about this opportunity to apply for the fellowship. And at that time, I was working for the National Planning Department in Colombia. We were designing a project to connect mediation services and peace building in rural areas in Colombia because we were implementing the peace agreement that the government and the guerrilla signed in 2016. So I was working as a ADR advisor for the national government, trying to connect how mediation could help people, especially in conflict areas, in Colombia, rural areas that they don't have any public services at all, in order to help them to resolve the conflicts in a peaceful way, because they have more than 60 years of experience in conflict areas. So I was working in this project, and when I saw the JAMS Foundation and the opportunity to go abroad again and learn and have a project about how to develop this idea, I was very interested in applying, and my project was that to collect information, to gather information, and to have meetings with several people and organizations in different cities in the United States in order to see this approach about mediation and peace building. And not only because I was working in that in my country, but also because I feel I have this perception that the field of ADR or mediation is working in a separate way from the dispute resolution field also, or the peace studies field. So I was interested in knowing from the United States perspective how these two fields, I mean, peace studies, conflict resolution on one side, and dispute resolution, the justice sector, law, and mediation on the other side are connected. And that was the project that I developed with the JAMS Foundation.
So then when you came back to Colombia, then what were the things that you did? I know after that, how did you build that up?
Right. Well, after I was working for almost a month in the United States with these meetings and in different workshops, trying to see the connection between these two fields, I came back to Colombia, and because the project that I was developing was a 3 years project, we already had worked the first year, so we were still in the phase of the design phase. So after the fellowship, I redesigned the project, doing some changes. For example, the project was most interested in connecting the traditional justice sector with mediation services. And after I came from the United States, I was more interested in connecting institutions that work in the peace studies field with mediation services. So the result of the project was to redesign some part of the activities that we were developing in Colombia. And let me tell you, Vikram, that after 3 years, the project was launched. And 1 year ago, the Ministry of Justice, the National Planning Department, and USAID, they launched this website in Colombia where anyone can have access to all the tools that this project developed in order to promote mediation and conciliation services in rural and post-conflict areas in Colombia, based, of course, with the insights of the JAMS Fellowship.
That's very nice. So do you want to give us the link to that website? Where
Sure, I should have the link. Do you want me to send you right now or after this?
Yeah. If you could just read it out also, we can just read it out, and then I'll also put it in the description of the video, because if they put all that out, it'll be a good resource to everyone. But this is all in Spanish, or is it in English also?
Everything is in Spanish, because in Colombia we only speak Spanish.
Harbey, you need to convert this into English also. It'll be a resource for everyone in the world.
Right. Yes, that is something interesting to do in the future. But for now, because our clients are people in Colombia developing this project and improving mediation services, well, everything is in Spanish still. Let me see.
Just send me the link, then I'll put it up on this also.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, you can send it in the chat, but I'll put it up. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I found it. And where is the chat? The project is this one.
Perfect. So I'll put this up.
So, yes, I'm sorry that everything is in Spanish.
No, it's good. I mean, Latin America by itself, and the Spanish-speaking world is so large, obviously, but I think it is something is good for everywhere in the world. I think all these things that you're doing. But tell me, you said traditional mediation with the mediation world and that sector. What was that traditional mediation sector that you were talking about?
Well, that is a great question. I think most people in the world are involved in this, what I call traditional narrative of mediation. What is this story? I will tell you as a story. For example, in Colombia, when the justice sector was having a crisis in the latest 80s, because most people were suing each other, and the system was not working because there were delays, is very bureaucratic, etc., etc. Well, the traditional justice sector crisis that the United States had it in the 70s. So when we had this crisis, when this crisis started, well, in the justice sector, people were looking for alternatives to solution in order to, of course, to improve the justice services. So, of course, based on the experience of the United States, that what they did with professor, the Harvard professor, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember his name. That is, the so-called father of the ADR movement. Oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. With the Pound Conference. The famous professor. So what Colombia saw the same experience as the United States, and we have this idea of developing mediation services with the courts and with the in hand with the justice system, in order to promote justice services and to promote access to justice. That is what I call the traditional approach to mediation, because according to that narrative of approach, we see mediation as a tool, as an alternative tool to the justice system, not something that people will see as a way to resolve conflict, but something that is next to the justice system way to resolve conflicts, and the way that people will see, okay, if this is something that is not working for me, I mean, the justice system, maybe mediation will work for me. But there is something related also with the justice system. In that traditional approach, we also see mediation as something cheaper than the justice system, right? Faster than the justice system, and in some way better than the justice system. Everything is related to. I mean, mediation is not having their own characteristic or their own features in order to promote peace or to promote conflict resolution, but it still is something always in relation to or related to the justice system. So that is the narrative that I call, or the master narrative that I call the traditional one. In that way also, because the justice system is a system that works almost with, mostly with lawyers and with the school of law, mediation is also, I would say, captured or hijacked by the law field. And in that way, mostly lawyers are the ones that have access to mediation, but also because lawyers are so powerful. And let me tell you that I am a lawyer too. In that sense, I can criticize my own profession. Because lawyers are so powerful in countries, and they also design the law, they usually tend to monopolize the mediation field and say, if you want to become a mediator, you have to be a lawyer. And that is something that I disagree with. So in that traditional narrative, a discourse of mediation related only with the justice sector, I think is one way to see or to understand mediation, and a different way to understand it is from the peace and conflict resolution field. I don't know, Vikram, if I am explaining myself with this perception of mediation.
No, perfect. And this is exactly what I keep saying, that I am a lawyer, but I criticize the way the whole structure has developed. And I'll tell you, there was this symposium that I did in August and September called Mediation in Our Culture and Traditions. So almost 100 speakers from 40 plus countries. And in my entire, after listening to everyone and everything, that whole focus has become this, that first of all, mediation through the court system hasn't worked. It has just destroyed the profession. So we have to now develop the profession if we have to take it further. I, of course, was looking at the US situation, that 100 million cases being filed in the courts for a 300 million population, where mediation has been there for 40, 50 years. So where is the missing thing? Where is the issue? That digging deeper. So this is what came out, that the lawyers are the one who's controlling it. For them, they've got their money coming in from that. But the problem that is happening is the mediator used is from the court system. The mediator gets nothing. So one lot comes in thinking that the lawyers will recognize them, and nothing happens. They don't get any private work. They move out disillusioned. The new lot comes in, and that process keeps going on. And what we really needed was, in all these years, that private practice for all of them should have developed, and the lawyers should have not been in the picture, and the mediators could have. Of course, if the lawyers had to come in, they could come in as specialized people coming in for a certain reason, which in certain mediations, a technical person can come in. Same way, the lawyer can come in for the law. It is, I think, that break we have to do from that concept of mediation that is developed. So all those things that you're saying resonate with me, and this is what I keep talking about also. So this is.
Thank you. Well, and unfortunately, the approach of connecting mediation with the peace building field is not so popular. I understand, because I came from the culture of law, justice, and the school of law, that when you talk about mediation, they already will think about it as an alternative dispute resolution, as this concept, right? But for example, in Colombia, since 3 years ago, we are working and developing a new concept of taking out the word alternative and calling conflict resolution methods, in order to promote the connection with the peace and conflict resolution field, and see the difference between these two approaches to mediation. And I just remember the name of the professor, Frank Sander, the law professor at the Harvard School, that he was the one who proposes the concept of ADR and the multi-door courthouse, etc., etc., etc. It's kind of part of the legend of how mediation could be developed in a country. In Colombia, we follow that legend, to say it, or that narrative. But after 30 years of that experience in my country, I do believe that there are things that we should reflect at redesign and rethink, in order to really professionalize the work of mediation, and not to depend of what the justice system or the law field is giving to us. I do believe in that kind of call of independence.
But this is repetition for people otherwise who've heard me so many times in the symposium, but I will still keep repeating this, that the courts and mediation are two different concepts. They're so diametrically opposite that once you start connecting the two, that whole foundation is so weak that absurd things will keep coming out of it. Mandatory mediation, costs on mediation, not going for mediation, not giving a reasonable reason not to go for mediation. Now, every country is coming out with something or the other. What are we doing this for? Only because the judiciary is inefficient. They are, according to I keep putting it, that they should put a board outside the court saying we deny justice, because justice delayed is justice denied. And please do not come to us. Please go and do mediation. They should put that, they should plead there, instead of showing that as if this is some tool that they have in their hand, some weapon to use against the litigant. Please do not put that on them like that. You are just inefficient. Put your house in order, whatever way it might be. Get your procedural laws in order. Get more courts if you have to. Get more judges if you have to. Whatever you need to do, that's your business. That's your world. Let the mediation world just let it be. Let it develop. That's the way I put it.
I totally agree with you, Vikram. I totally agree with you. But also, I am aware that what you are saying and what I am saying is not popular, or is not well received, still in the field of mediation, because we are in the field of mediation, we are so absorbed by the justice system and those discourses that we don't want to hear something different. And in addition of what you are saying, I do believe that there is a relationship between mediation and the justice system, but there should be a synergy between two of them, because each one has their own values. But what I see of mediation is that the values of mediation have been absorbed by the values of the justice system. For example, the justice system only wants to see resolve. I mean, how many agreements you have as a mediator, because that indicator is going to serve the purposes of the justice to develop some results and tell to the people, we are doing a good job. However, for example, from the narrative perspective of mediation, our goal is not to reach an agreement. Our goal is to help people to create or to build a new narrative, an alternative narrative to the one that is not that the narrative of conflict is not dominating the lives of people. So we are not following that indicator of that goal of the justice system, of the mediation as a general idea of reaching agreements. So in that sense, and I know that the transformative school of mediation also has a different goal. So if we are developing a field of mediation, we should think about it, how the values, the principles, and all the rules that the justice system is helping the field of mediation, or is not helping in some way, or promoting only a certain group of values and not all. And I think that we should reflect on that.
Well, actually what happens is that the discussion keeps happening about development of mediation. I am saying the central role played in that is the mediator. Let's not forget the mediator. If you do not develop the profession, do not let them, what are we trying to do? It comes for free. In the court system, it comes for free. How do people value something that comes for free? Ultimately, this world is a materialistic world, and everything gets related to how much am I paying for this? How much in the lawyers? I'm telling you. I mean, we have mediation centers in courts here. The mediation center, the person who's a mediator, they might get some $40, $50, maybe sometime $100 for an entire mediation. In that same court, a senior lawyer is heading that mediation center, is charging $10,000 for a hearing. Can you see the mismatch? Right. I am saying, if you really are so concerned with the development of giving justice to people, and you think mediation has a role to play, why not just set like this multi-door courthouse concept that came up? Have a space there, multi-door courthouse, no problem. But everyone is, whoever, be it arbitration, be it litigation or mediation, everyone charges the same. You come, there's a case, you will get only $100. You want to practice as a litigating lawyer, you get $100. You want to do a mediator, you will mediate $100. Arbitrator, $100. Let's see, in one day, all these mediation centers in courts will close down, or the lawyers will be on the streets and they will close the courts down. So I think there is some lack of understanding that this is a separate profession. Let it develop. That's a long-term perspective. A short-term perspective is self-interest. Let us get the big caseload out. How does it help as on the long run? It's not helping. I'm telling you, I look at the US experience, I don't see it helping. How does it help? So this is why, I mean, these are they call them radical thoughts. I don't know, whatever you want to call them.
I don't know either. I think we are not, as you said, we are not looking for in a long-term vision of mediation. Let me tell you that, for example, Colombia was the first country in Latin America to have a mediation law. Our mediation law is from 1991. It was the first mediation experience in the region. This year, we are celebrating or commemorating the 30th anniversary. And we are doing a series of forums and gatherings in order to analyze our own process of 30 years of experience. And unfortunately, after 30 years, we don't have as many mediators working as professionals only as in mediation. Why? One of the reasons is it's not worth it, as you said. We are still thinking that the mediator is cheap, that the mediator doesn't have the right to see a profit of this profession, and because most of the mediation centers and the Ministry of Justice, the Colombian Ministry of Justice, and the Congress also with the law, they are considering that the mediation is cheap. So you are almost doing this as a volunteer or as a pro bono work, or you should do all your professional work as a mediator, but only for a couple of dollars or Colombian pesos, but not as worth it as a professional itself. So after 30 years, if we do a balance, of course, we have more than 100,000 mediations every year. We are not a big country, so our numbers are not that big, but 100,000 mediations every year is a good number. We have an average of agreement of 40% in the whole country. The best mediation center has an indicator of 80% of agreement, etc., etc. We have a good system. However, still the system is under the values of the justice system and under the values that this has to be, of course, cheap, fast, and with so many limitations, and in the mediation field itself, that we are not seeing the future.
Absolutely.
But I think this experience is very common in many countries. When I talk with colleagues as you, I see the same experience. I see the same trends. I see that we are following the same narrative, the same discourses, and we are not doing something different in order to develop the profession itself, right? And to value the mediation and the mediation methodology or process and the work of mediators doing something, because we are kind of course, still an alternative to someone else or an alternative to something else. And I do believe that we have to break that master narrative in order to be independent and to build a better field still in the world. But I mean, I hope that we are going to change that.
Harbey, what I've been saying, I'm saying that this whole colonization that happened, the mindset became colonized, the dispute resolution system became colonized, and we are not being able to break out of that. So decolonization is the first thing that we have to do. Courts are not the only place where dispute resolution happens. Dispute resolution happens all the time everywhere else. So please get out of this concept, get it out of your head, judges and courts, that you are not the only place where people will resolve their dispute. So don't try to take control of all the dispute resolution that has to happen. Even arbitration. I mean, arbitration in India, other parts of the world also, of course, took off and everything, because of course you could appoint your judge and everything, so you could decide your process. Very nice, because you were fed up with the court system, definitely. But what happened? The arbitral awards started getting challenged in courts. Imagine a mediation that I did recently, that matter had been pending for 14 years. It was an arbitration. The arbitral award was lying challenged in the courts at that point of time. We did not know how much more time it will take. It was in one of the high courts in India. From the high court, an appeal goes to the Supreme Court. First of all, there's an appeal in the high court itself. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. So we don't know. Maybe it could have taken another 10 years. Can you imagine? This is an arbitration. So the courts have finished off litigation, finished off arbitration. Now let us look at what we can do next. Let's finish off mediation also. So we have to look, like you say, basically mediators, everyone feels have to rise above everything else. They don't have houses to run. They don't have families to look after, and they should be at a different level. I think that has to go out of people's head. This is a profession. And actually value is delivered there. But interestingly, in the symposium, there was Constantia from Brazil. I that statement of hers. She said, in my lifetime, I want to see that I can practice as a full-time mediator. Imagine that this is the kind of thought, because once that mediator mindset is there, you are definitely not going to be able to do anything else. You want to do that. You don't want to practice as a litigating lawyer or as an arbitrator or anything. But if circumstances are like that, they have to. So they're frustrated on an everyday basis. Look, I moved out. I said, look, I'm going to be a full-time mediator. Whatever the way, I have to create the profession for myself, so against all the odds. But that's the way it is. I mean, we have to be able to do something about it.
And see what happens, including, I love the concept that you are saying about the colonization of our mindset. I totally agree with that. And if we would like to decolonize or to change that mindset, to change that narrative, we need to change, starting with our language. look at the concept that we follow in this case. Mediation is not interdisciplinary. I mean, anyone that study mediation is able to do a mediation, but the concept is mostly lawyers are the ones who are allowed to study mediation or to practice mediation. So we need to change that concept of who are the ones who are able to, or to are who are the ones to deserve to practice mediation. A second concept that I'm listening is that we think that conflicts are one thing, and we think that disputes are a different thing. We are only focusing on disputes that are related with something with the law. But conflict is a concept that is, of course, broader, right? And I don't see that mediation is only for disputes. I see that mediation is for any kind of conflicts, including those conflicts where violence is present. And that is another limitation. We believe that mediation is not suitable to resolve or to intervene conflicts where violence is present. So there is another limitation in the language and in the concept of mediation. And in addition to that, we are thinking that mediation is worth it because the other systems are not working well. However, most of the conflict resolution needs of the people, and we have measured that in my country, is the number of conflicts is huge in comparison to the number of conflicts that goes to the courts, to go to an authority. In our country, more than 80% of the conflicts, people are dealing or addressing those conflicts in the community itself. Yeah. And only a small part of those conflicts go to any authority, that we have many, or any leader, or any lawyer, judge, or any other kind of person that works in the justice system. So if our mindset is only that mediation is worth it because it's suitable for those conflicts that go to an authority in order to resolve, I think that we are missing the whole picture or the big picture of what is a conflict and what mediation can do in order to resolve any kind of conflict, including those that are not conceptualized as disputes. Because if we are having a conversation and we have a misunderstanding and we have a different position about a topic, and after that we develop a mindset of you are the other and I am the one that is right, there is a conflict too. Yeah. So in that sense, someone could help us to have a better dialogue or a better conversation as a mediator. So I would like to highlight, and I love that concept of our mindset is colonialized, and we have to work in that if we would like to improve mediation as a profession, starting with the language.
And the important thing is that when I say colonization of the mind and dispute resolution, one aspect of is when I said everyone, the courts think this is the only place where dispute resolution happen. People think lawyers are the only one who help resolve disputes. That's part of the whole colonization part of it. But like you said about the fact that how many matters actually come to courts. So there was a report which came out in India, which said only about 5% of the conflicts, disputes, let's put them together for a moment. Let's put them together. I'll come to disputes later, but only 5% go to courts. And if I actually multiply it by the situation that we have, 18 million matters go into courts in India every year. So if I do that as 5%, that means about 360 million matters are out there, which compares to the US situation, because in US, it is 300 million population, 100 million cases in the courts. We have 1.3 billion people, so 400 million matters compares. So that means we are doing something right outside the court system. Let's get that there's something wrong with the way it moved in the US. Let us not go in that direction, because our courts cannot handle 400 million matters coming into courts. It cannot. Right now it's broken down. So at 400 million, it's going to collapse. So let's people should get that larger vision going there, that there is some fundamental reasons that we are not at that stage today. We are a 60% rural population. there is something happening in the rural areas. It could be the traditional methods of dispute resolution, the people out there, that linkage of a elder maybe who can help you resolve that.
Right.
That link is missing. And I was telling someone yesterday itself that the fact that mediators today are filling in that space, it was not required. We were not required to come from outside. It should have happened within. But that layer is going away slowly, and that's when we come in. But we have to understand, look, that symposium, again, come to the symposium, the topic was mediation in our culture and traditions. The whole idea was that we can let's try and tell people, link it to the process. They're familiar with the process. Mediation might be too hyper technical the way it's being promoted. People think some rocket science or something. No, it's been happening. It's a way of life. It's all around you. Just link to that and develop it from there. And in terms of the mediators also, I'm saying that these people with the mediator mindset are already out there. They have the natural ability. They are trusted by communities. Let's take them forward. Maybe the way it has functioned, it's been this whole concept of let's create mediators or make mediators. I will train you to be a mediator, those 40-hour factories and everything. Maybe let's relook it. Let's see whether if we can get these people who are already out there, and if we can get them into the fold, because user experience is what is important. And with these people, the user experience is guaranteed because they're already doing it. They're already trusted by communities, and people and communities don't just trust someone just like that. It's because they actually perform. So let's bring them into the fold and take them forward, because I think the whole network is out there. It's just that we're actually destroying it. Today in India, there is a mediation bill which is being circulated. We want to come out with an act. I am saying the people in India say that India doesn't have a mediation law. And I say that India has the best mediation law in the world. Imagine, can there be such a difference? The point is, we have what is called conciliation, which came to us in 1996. The UNCITRAL at that stage was using the word conciliation. They had circulated a model law. We adopted it. It's the best way it can be. It's totally flexible. It is totally party driven. They decide who the mediators, everything is there in that law. At the end of the day, that settlement agreement is as good as a court decree. Only thing is, it goes to the route of an arbitral award. It becomes a consent award and then becomes a court decree. Today, with the Singapore Convention and the new mediation UNCITRAL model law out there, it can become directly a court decree with the reasons why it should not be enforced can be put into it. Not a problem. Little tweaking. Here, what they've done is that, again, the colonization. How can the judiciary and government get into mediation? So they want to create a mediation council of India where bureaucrats sit in it. Judge sits in it. Two people who have some knowledge of ADR or mediation can be part of that committee, that council. Can you imagine this? Who getting into it like that? Then creating something in terms of community mediation. How the government will appoint people. We're going back to being a colony, and I don't think people with that mindset. I think we're not being able to change with the judiciary and the government. People have to, in some way, maybe wake up and say, "Look, we've had enough. This is one opportunity." This was total empowerment. Sitting in a village in India, you could get today with online mediation. We have everything. We have digital signatures. We have everything available in India. What is sitting in a village in India? You could get a court decree. How much more empowerment can you get? Where the courts are inaccessible to some people. That is why a lot of disputes, of course, do not go to courts for that reason. They don't have how. There are high courts in India which might be 1,000 kilometers away from a village. Supreme Court will be 2,500 kilometers away. Can you think of a person sitting in a village to be able to access those? So the structure is maybe radical.
It's very interesting the experience that you are telling me, because let me tell you that the law that we have is called conciliation law. And the translation that I am doing in order to have a conversation about ADR or mediation is that when I talk about mediation for anyone that is not from Colombia, is because it's the methodology, or is the method, or is the method that is developing in the world. But in Colombia, it's called conciliation. And why conciliation? Even though we saw, as I told you at the beginning, the mediation experience in the United States in the early 90s, it was because we have a conciliation law since the 19th century. So based on the Colombian experience, the people that were designing the law in 1991, they decided not to change the word conciliation for mediation and to keep the word conciliation. But it's also interesting in our case to see that even though that we kept the word conciliation instead of mediation, we put it all the characteristic of the features of mediation in conciliation, and the institutionalizing process of developing mediation in Colombia. And part of the process is related that also mediation is included in our constitution since 1991, the same year. And for that reason, because talking about something that you said about that in India, you were looking for a mediation law. In our experience, because we have a mediation law, and also mediation was included in the constitution, we are analyzing the consequences of having mediation in the constitution, because for that reason, our constitutional court has many decisions making rules for mediation, making rules based on the law and based on the mindset of the law field that, of course, is part of the judges of the Constitutional Court in Colombia. So when they are making decisions for the whole country, they are making decisions only related to, again, to the justice system, to lawyers, to the School of Law, etc., etc., etc. And that, I would say, power is having a huge impact in how mediation has been developed in our country. But something so simple, and I know that most people would say that it's very important to have included mediation in the constitution, but also that has I would call it a not good side of the effects of having a law or having a constitution, including a methodology or a process of conflict resolution in the country, because again, it's a tool to improve that mindset that we are talking about it.
I'll tell you, of course, I'll have to look at what the Colombian law on mediation was in 1991. But let me share with you what the UNCITRAL has themselves said. They've come out with this new law, this model law, obviously not binding on parties, but this is the new model law they've come out with. And in this, let me just go to the footnote first, and then I will go to the definition of mediation. It very nicely says out here, in its previously adopted text and relevant documents, UNCITRAL used the term conciliation with the understanding that the terms conciliation and mediation were interchangeable. In preparing this model law, the Commission decided to use the term mediation instead in an effort to adapt to the actual and practical use of the terms, and with the expectation that this change will facilitate the promotion and heighten the visibility of the model law. This change in terminology does not have any substantive or conceptual implications. The people who started this whole concept of putting out conciliation, the word, are now changing that. The definition of, this is the definition of mediation in this model law, means a process whether referred to by the expression mediation, conciliation, or an expression of similar import. But main thing is whereby parties request a third person or persons to mediate or assist them in their attempt to reach an amicable settlement of the dispute arising out of or relating to contractual or other legal relationship. Main thing is the mediator does not have the authority to impose upon the parties a solution to the dispute. It's as simple as that. This whole confusion that is being created, because it serves the purpose of some people, let's create a confusion that there is no law on mediation in India. I'm talking about India, I can't say about Colombia.
Vikram, may I comment something?
Yeah, please.
Well, I didn't know about that rule. It's called my attention that when dispute is defined, after that is related to a contractual or something related with the law only.
Legal relationship. Yeah, this is the legal.
If I read,
yeah,
look,
contractual or other legal relationship.
Or
this is the
legal
important part. Other, it can be not contractual.
We were talking about the concept of conflict instead of dispute.
Yeah.
And you see, when even though he's saying, "Oh no, this doesn't." This definition doesn't have any impact at all. It does. It's only saying that it's a dispute first, not conflict, but also related with contractual or legal relationships. And a conflict is not only that.
Yeah. No, I tell you what.
If we see mediation only related with that, we are limiting
no, absolutely.
of course, the scope of mediation. So you see, even though
no, just Harbey, what we'll have to do is what we'll have to do is just go into the background of why this model law is only because you have to people have to the countries have to ratify the Singapore Convention. So this is actually connected to international commercial mediation is what the Singapore Convention is about. But this model law they are putting out to countries that they can for their own domestic law when they're ratifying the convention. At that time in the domestic law they can also incorporate some things. So that is why the dispute aspect has to come in, because it is only for a specific purpose. But your concept of conflict definitely is much larger, and that is definitely where mediation will come in. Why I was wanting to tell you about this dispute thing that you came up with, I decided that I am going to focus only on dispute resolution. So I call this my dispute resolution revolution. Only for this reason that a dispute is quantifiable. Let people take the benefit of mediation and actually resolve a dispute to get the flavor of mediation. Because yes, this was a dispute, this got resolved, quantifiable. Conflict is of course a much larger concept, and whether the conflict has been resolved, not resolved, a lot of things can be, you can keep discussing that. So I said, let me focus on this. And then from that, as we go along, maybe we will be able to some way, at least people will understand, yes, this works. So I think that is why that's how I'm looking at it. Definitely what you're saying, the larger picture of conflict resolution and mediation definitely is much larger.
But it's interesting what you are saying. My concern is that if we want people to have a flavor of mediation, and I like that metaphor, and the only flavor that we are giving to people is this concept and the dispute and the legal relationship, etc., and the commercial one, etc., how people will have the opportunity to have another flavor, a different flavor, or so many flavors that mediation has to offer, if we are only given one specific example that we lead, again, from my perspective, a limited concept of mediation, and only related with a couple of situations that could happen in the mindset of people. I think that is part of the mindset that we are building. I don't know if you.
No. What I'm saying is that this is step-by-step approach. One is because we are starting from the decolonization aspect. The mind is so clouded by this thing that, like I said, dispute resolution, lawyers and courts. I mean, imagine. So now you have a dispute, you go to the lawyers or courts. And courts, let's not say or and courts, lawyers and courts. Okay. So now suddenly you would tell them, no, disputes don't have to go there. Disputes can be resolved within yourselves, and a mediator can assist you in that. Okay, this is an option. We can use it. We should use it. It's not what is an option. You already know it. This part of the culture. It's not a new thing. It's been happening. But somewhere down the line, we lost that. Okay, not a problem. Let's do that. Like I said, the layer of the person in the communities is not there. The family is not there. Okay, so a third party is coming from outside. Not a problem. Let's try it out. The dispute gets resolved. Discussion on mediation starts. Oh, this is a process that has helped us. It can help you. Any dispute that you have pending in court, try mediation to resolve it. So a step happens. Okay, someone, ultimately a profession develops by word of mouth. So yes, someone's dispute got resolved. This matter was in court, got resolved, out. So slowly we move the court out of the picture. Then when you have people, look, mediators have to earn their money, like I said. So when people start using for disputes, which are huge backlog in cases and everything, that they can use it for pending cases, new cases, like 18 million go into courts every year. Out of those cases start going to, these are disputes which would go to court. I'm saying only 5%, like you said, then we have a 95% to handle. But people start using it there because they actually know, okay, I had this dispute, I resolved it. So this is step one. You have then create those mediators who are actually got a profession. They're making money out of it. Then you talk about the conflict resolution. There also people should make money. The industry of war, weapons and everything is so huge. The industry of peace is huge. People have institutions and grants and all that happening. There's a whole industry on the other end. But finally, the mediator is lost in the picture somewhere. So, let that mediator earn their money out of it. But these mediators are out there to do Okay, they are available for conflicts. Yes. The next step is to get their role, which Ken Cloak speaks about, and which I have also done some sessions on that, about the role of mediators in the larger role of mediators in society, the conversations, the dialogues that they need to facilitate in everything. It could be policy making. It could wherever. I mean, wherever there is any kind of a conflict, like you said, it could be any kind. These people should be available. So we need that large pool. So I'm saying this is that step by step that I am calling it the dispute resolution revolution. For that reason, Ken Cloak he calls it conflict revolution. That's okay. He's on a larger picture, or he has a larger picture.
I like that concept of
Yeah.
Of the dispute resolution revolution. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm saying that two things happening. Ken Cloak says conflict revolution. He's working. He obviously has look, his experience and everything is totally different, and he talks about the larger picture, which I'm also saying we have to look at the larger picture. But to get to that larger picture, we have to take steps. And for me, dispute resolution is the path to start with. Get the flavor in, get the mediators going, get the large numbers available, and then, because the numbers are too huge. Like I said, 95% not in courts, 400 million conflicts out there. Conflicts which are disputes. There are disputes also, of course. This large picture, how will you manage? You need mediators for that, and millions of them. So that is how the whole process. That's the way I look at it.
The scope for mediation is huge. I would like to mention, related to what you were saying, step by step, because in the project of mediation services in rural and post-conflict areas in Colombia, I remembered in 2016 when I was doing some focus group with mediators in Colombia, that we were talking about this opportunity to work in post-conflict areas in Colombia and to develop mediation services over there, etc., etc. I was surprised of the response of my colleagues saying, that is a great idea, that is a great project, but I don't think that I see myself working in that situation. Why? Because I have, for example, some of them, they have 20 years of experience working with Chamber of Commerce, or working with universities, or working with mediation centers in cities, working in a comfort zone where they have two parties asking for mediation, having a good salary, or having some conflict that they already are familiar, like civil or commercial or family conflict, etc., etc. So they didn't see themselves working in a different place, like a rural area, or working with people that were affected by violence. They thought that word is not for mediators, but for peace builders. And that was a shock for me, because I see mediators as peace builders, as a same identity. I know that, of course, in the UN, etc., in the peace studies field, peace builders are also people that, of course, help countries to reach agreement, etc., and whether that is war, etc., etc. But the concept included people working with communities building peace. And I was shocked in my own country to listen to my colleagues saying that word is for peace builders, but not for mediators. Mediators belongs to the courts, to the justice system, to the chambers of commerce, or any mediation center where we are doing this work in beautiful places, when you have coffee, when you have a desktop, etc., 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 etc. I mean, you have all yes, it's a comfort zone for mediation to work, but not with the communities that really need more the help of people building something different. And as you said, we have such a paradigm of mediation that we don't see that working among the communities, with them, on hand in hand with them, we have a gap there. So I hope that we will work in the future together in order to close that gap, and to see in the future mediators identifying themselves as peace builders too.
Well, I tell you what, Harbey, I actually do not want to use the word peace builder. Builder, I say peacemaker, because look, peace building is a lot of aspects on policies and a lot of other things go with it, and they're doing that. So I'm saying let's the mediator's role in that process, yes, but then after that they should not get into it. They should be only the ones who will facilitate all that, and then the actual implementation of policies and how things have to go about in terms of the procedures and everything after that should be left to the other people. And these people, the mediator, should walk out of it after that stage when everything is in some way settled. Let's just call it settled. But you said, of course, in violent places where there's violence, yes, people don't understand. But when communities are affected through, like, say, mining projects, and the mediators have gone there. So there's Luis Ore in Peru, who's doing wonderful work, who's done wonderful work as part of the Prime Minister's office. And I found it really interesting that they actually went, like you said, not sitting in an office somewhere. He actually went down to the communities, sitting there, talking to them, getting the communities together. There were some situations where they were in one stadium, the community there, working with them. At the same time, you have, it's like a hybrid model. You have the government officials on the screens, and all that, the dialogue is facilitated on the ground there. So, I mean, you can do it in a very interesting way. That all that needs to happen, and the role of mediators, definitely there is lots that has to be done. But yeah, please.
No, sorry. I was going to mention that 2 weeks ago I was talking with Luis Ore too, because we invited him to do a conference in Colombia regarding to the 30th anniversary of the mediation law. I was talking to him because I was interested. He has a series of pictures where he's working with communities, developing community dialogue, etc., etc. And I was talking to him to show those pictures. I was encouraging him to show those pictures because I said to him, we would like to invite our mediators in Colombia to see themselves doing that job that you, for example, are doing in Peru, with environmental and mining conflicts with communities as a large scope of mediation. So I'm glad to hear that you were talking to him too, because we are connected in that sense.
No, I'll tell you what, Harbey. If you go to my website, mediatorvikram.com, there is a section on YouTube. It's called YouTube. I'll just show you the top. It says YouTube on top. And in that, I have a show called Evolution of a Mediator. That's one show. And there is a show called In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind. This is what the section looks like. So in this, you can just look for Luis. He came on, he was on my, that In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind. So he's actually in this, it's a nice, I think it must be about 2 hours. So in this, he's spoken about all those pictures that you're talking about, all that. He's taken us through that. So you will find all that here. So it's a very, very good session it was. This is one place you'll find him. The other is the symposium that I did. There were, like I said, over 100 speakers. So that part of it is also one other section, which is, okay, let me find you the section. This is the section is called Symposium number 1, Mediation in Our Culture and Traditions. So if you go there, and here also, if you search for him, this is a shorter version. So this is like, he's speaker number 76. So here he's done a shorter version it's about an hour or so. So you have both the options available. So the longer version, I don't know whether it's 2 hours or maybe more in Conversation with a Beautiful Mind. So he's really taken us through that, and I found it really interesting and something that should be used everywhere in the world. I mean, to actually go down and work with the communities on the ground kind of thing, not like you said, sitting in an office somewhere and some representative comes to you and like that. Look, the community is there. They see transparency there. That this discussion is happening in front of us.
And I don't want any I don't want you to get me wrong. I believe that mediation is great also for nice and fancy offices and with huge conflict that have a lot of money involved. That is great, but it's not the only picture of mediation.
But Harbey, interestingly, actually, look, we are talking about the JAMS founded this fellowship and all, but when you look at JAMS also, supposed to be the largest institution for say ADR. total number of matters there are 18,000 in the entire year. So the largest institution with 400 plus neutrals, 18,000 ADR. I don't know how many of that are mediation. I've not been able to find that figure. But I'm just saying that's nothing compared to the number. Like I said, 100 million matters going into courts in the US. And on this end, 18,000 actually is a major mismatch. So in terms of institutions, there is not much, there are numbers there. But in terms of the world, it is highlighted. So and so institution, say in Singapore, you'll have one institution. Maybe in 5 years, they might have done 700 matters. Maybe no, I don't even know if that many in 5 years, more than that, since they were instituted. So the numbers there are not much, but people talk about mediation only in relation to that. So definitely that has to change. Definitely has to change. That this is okay. It sounds nice, but that hyper technicality that has got associated with it. Look at the numbers involved there. It's nothing. We're talking millions and millions of matters on the other side. This is where it has to move. So that whole focus of mine is on that now. Let's just go down. Let's pick up those people who are already have that ability, already doing it. Like I said, I'll go back. I'll keep repeating this because this is where I think where that link has got affected. You need to go there. That's how I'm looking.
Maybe we are still in a what many people are talking about, the single narrative, right? The single story. And in mediation, maybe we have a single story of mediation looks like JAMS, or mediation looks like a specific role of the mediator, and a specific role of a goal for mediation, etc., etc. And that is still a single story, right? But mediation is bigger than that.
I'll tell you, Harbey, how I put it. That the mediation is like the elephant and the blind men. This is so large, and everyone is picking one little part of it and thinks that's the elephant. No, the elephant is huge, and whether if you get the larger picture, damn good. But if you get the smaller thing, work with it, not a problem. Call it elephant, call it whatever, call the tail elephant, not a problem. As long as you work with it, do it.
I like that metaphor too. You are using a lot of good metaphors in order to talk about mediation. The elephant one is a great one to describe how we are talking about mediation when it's bigger than that, right? It's the elephant, right? It's not only the part that the blind person is only touching.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how we have to, and let everyone work with their thing. Let them be happy with what they're doing. Not a problem. If the entire picture comes up, damn good. Not a problem. If it doesn't, but let's just do it wherever you should. Yeah, you're saying something.
In my case, I am interested in developing that part of the mediation that is not so well known or explored with peace and conflict resolution, and especially in conflict areas in my country. That is the focus of mediation that I would like to explore more and to develop and to work with other colleagues in my country, because I do believe that we need to help the implementation of the peace agreement in my country. So that is part of my interest, especially from the narrative perspective of mediation.
But what I want you to do, Harbey, is speaker number 96, Shadia. She works in places where there is violence. She does mediations there. Interesting work, interesting person, interesting thoughts. You must watch this. You must watch her.
Okay, I will take a look at that video too.
Yeah, because it's in the sense there is a different approach that we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about this. Main thing is that for some reason, like I said, this hyper technicalities happened on one end. We were talking about how the heart and mediation, that aspect has somewhere got delinked. You have to work with the heart. And that is also an important part of it. So we discussed that. It's interesting. Have a look. It's a very interesting session. So have a look at that. So there is so much that is happening. There are so many interesting people doing such wonderful work all over. I'm just trying to get those people together and have these conversations so we can change the narrative. That is what we need to do. And look, with one conversation, what we are having, and someone listens to that conversation, and then any change happens anywhere, damn good. It can't make it worse. It can only make it better.
Right.
That's how it is. But we moved away from the entire JAMS thing. With all your relationships that you developed with all your cohort and all. What about all those people you had? Let me put the list out for you. Maybe of course you won't forget them, but all these people that you had. Vedana, of course, is doing a lot of good work in Kyrgyzstan. So
I'm still in contact with Archil. He's a professor in a university, and because I am a professor too, we are in contact with the work that he's doing in his university. I know George is still working in Lebanon and doing mediations for the World Bank too. Unfortunately, I don't have so much contact with my other colleagues from that fellowship. Unfortunately, I should.
No, look, Fidana said she's busy. Okay, she's really busy, so she might not be able to record it right now. Nudrat, yes, she's going to record it. Let's see when that happens. So there's a lot of the people. Archel, actually, Patricio got in touch with me. I don't know whether you know Patricio.
Yes, I do remember him.
Okay.
Well, he's not part of this group, but he's another.
Not there. He was not in this convo. He was in 2017. He was in 2017 from Chile. So he himself, and he said, Archel also, let's record our thing. So I'm working that out maybe next week and the week after that.
Oh, great.
So they're also going to be there. So the idea is to get everyone together and get what they are doing and what work they're doing. And because I'm sure you people are doing wonderful work in your countries, and let's highlight that. That's the whole idea.
I appreciate that the JAMS Fellowship is an opportunity to build your own path in the mediation world. So we have people working with the justice system, people working in disputes, in commercial disputes, etc., in arbitration, etc., etc. And so in my case, it was about peace building. And so I do appreciate that the fellowship is giving many people the opportunity to build and to develop their own career in mediation in order to get deeper in what their interests are. This is so diverse that I do appreciate that the JAMS Fellowship gave me, at least in my case, the opportunity to learn more about the connections between mediation and peace building.
What came out for me from this whole thing was that there's so many people in this world who have interesting ideas and what they want to do in their country or in the world, whatever, in terms of mediation. So of course, JAMS takes maybe 10 fellows in a year or something like that. But I said, let's now put it out. I'm going to put it out very soon. You have projects, you're thinking of doing something in mediation, get in touch. On the other end, I'll look for people who want to in some way support these people. They can do it directly. I mean, I'm not, who don't want to be the middleman that you give me money and I will give it to them. No, let them interact with each other. I'll just create that space so that at least all these people who are all there, all over, who good intentions, good thoughts, except opportunity might not be there. So let's create that. So this is what good thing that has come out from all this, that this is now a kind of a focus area, that let's get these wonderful people who want to do wonderful work. Let's just, in some way, whatever little way, if I can be a catalyst there, why not? So that's now that's what good thing that's come up.
You are doing a great job, Vikram. Congratulations for that. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation with you and to reach more people to know what we are doing, and especially with the JAMS Foundation, what they are helping other colleagues in order to build a career.
Perfect. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Harbey, for coming in. And it was a wonderful conversation, and your thoughts totally match my thoughts. We'll be doing lots more on how to take this forward and more conversations like this. So if you want some concluding remarks that you want to make, please.
No, well, thank you for this opportunity, Berkan. I hope that we are going to have the opportunity to have you giving us a lecture in Colombia, in any other Congress or forum that we are going to have here about mediation. I will be very interested in listening to you and the experience that you can tell us. And again, thank you for this nice conversation. It has been very interesting for me. And I appreciate that we have very many things in common. So I hope that people that are going to listen and to watch this video, they will enjoy, and we are going to reach more people with this narrative about mediation.
Absolutely. When you say reach more people, that is the only issue, is people do not share. That's what I keep complaining about. Share these videos. There is such, if you have to take mediation forward, people have to start sharing. So that part of it, I think that's not really happening, because I do so much in the whole month. There is so much that I do, but people don't know about it. Because first of all, social media doesn't really tell everyone what's happening. That's a big issue.
Right.
They have their algorithm.
We should.
We have to some way do it ourselves. Let me show you. Okay, let me just show you what happened in November. Okay, what all happened in November. Well, this happened in this is in August and September. Rafael, you know Rafael Lobo from Mexico.
I do know him.
Yeah, he designed this poster. This is on the original poster of Woodstock. So this was, I mean, really nice what he did there. So this is what we did in August and September. So all these sessions, of course, there. Then these are the experiences I started. So all these are obviously on YouTube. Adi, Tatlim. I mean, wonderful people, all of them. It's like Vigle was the one where I started from. Katarzyna, Iviana. Gide was interesting. He's in Ethiopia. So Gabriel, that conversation was really interesting. You must watch it if you have. Lots of things got discussed. Spirituality and her constellations
Gabriel
theory.
is wonderful.
Yeah, her constellations theory and all. A lot of it was very nice conversation. You must have watched that. Then we had, of course, Judge Halim from Bangladesh. Derek, interesting conversation. So Scotland, again from Greece. Wonderful work she's doing in terms of the prison system and all. So all that discussion we had. Then of course this is the bill that I have a problem with. This workshop I did on that bill. This is a new lecture series that I started where you will be giving a lecture. I'll fix up a time with you. So this was what the inspiration was. This is that show that I do, Evolution of a Mediator. The idea behind that show, Evolution of a Mediator, was that, look, a mediator is not made in a 40-hour factory. There are experiences and everything that goes into making that person a mediator, not evolving as a mediator. So this is what it started. Also, there's some lectures that I have part of that. Michael Lang, again, he comes in on another show also. So this was that in conversation with a beautiful mind. This is the lecture. This is that Bernie Mayer is coming again on the 11th. So another lecture there. This is what another show which I started with Michael because he is into reflective practice. So it's called Mediator Reflects. So this is where he got some people from his Irish practice group to come and discuss how they go about in a meeting.
I like his book. I have his book.
So you must come.
Reflecting practice.
So please come in on the 15th. The next one with him is on 15th.
For sure.
Yeah, so I'll send you that link. So he's also doing interesting work, how like mediation and art, how that connection, creative ways of going about things in mediation. She's actually a design person. Rafael is the one who designed that. I put Santana here because he says, I am the Carlos Santana of the Woodstock of mediation. I put it here. He said, if you put that there, people will think that was part of my name. I said, for fun, let's put it up there. So this was in Spanish also. He did both. So they're also up there on the YouTube channel. And then this is another conversation. Like I said, that reflective group that Michael has, she's part of that group also. Another wonderful person. And then this is on the last day of the month, celebrate the birthdays of mediators in that month. So that's so much that happens. And this is that, for me also, this is like the blind man and the elephant. Someone sees one part of it and says, that's what he does. The larger whole, I don't think anyone knows. No. So
that is part of what is happening with the world. You know, we have so much information available, so many things to see that we don't have the time, unfortunately, in some cases, to see everything that is out there. But I agree with you. We should share more the information that we have.
And all I tell people is just subscribe to the YouTube channel. When new videos are posted or I go live, you'll get to know. It is not for monetization for that, because my YouTube channel doesn't have enough subscribers to even, there is a minimum that YouTube has to even monetize a channel. Even that is not there. This is only that this becomes a direct link, because LinkedIn and Facebook and all will never ever let you get everything. Either you have to follow the person, in the sense, go to their profile and check what they're doing. Where do people have time for that? So I said this was one way of getting to know. So I've told you the entire thing, taken a lot of your time. Harbey, thank you very much. And hope to see you very soon. And 15th, definitely I'm seeing you on with Michael Lang. So that's at 6:30 India time. So we started.
Thank you again.
Yeah.